But this caught my eye this weekend. This was a note from insiders who were in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. And the tweet was, the Eagles represent the return of the running back and the importance of power football. And you got to be able to run the ball now to win the Super Bowl. Teams are running more now than they have in the past. And you say, well, why is that the case? Why are teams running more now? And there's a bunch of articles out. Ted Wynn has a great article in The Athletic on this. And there's a number of reasons. Edge defenders have gotten smaller and faster. They're not 270 as much. They're 230. They're 225. Linebackers are 215, 220. They've gotten smaller. They've gotten faster. That's a big part of it. So teams are having more success running because you've got smaller edge rushers, smaller linebackers. What we've seen in coverage is an increase in split safety looks. So the split safeties with the two deep safeties and the light box make it more difficult to pass and more difficult to generate explosives in the pass game. So ultimately, I think there's a lot of people that feel like linebacker play around the league has gotten worse. The guys don't break down in space as well as they have in the past. The two high safety looks have increased by percentage in every season since 2019. And this year, 2024, this was the highest percentage we've ever seen of double safety, two high safety looks. And what you're seeing is the successful defensive coordinators in the game, Mike McDonald in Seattle, who's the head coach there, Vic Fangio with the Eagles. These guys have popularized the two safety looks, and it's now, basically copied across the league. There's a lot of two safety looks. There's a lot less cover three and a lot more split safeties. And then what are you seeing the top teams do with all these two safety looks? Well, the top teams like Baltimore and Philadelphia and Kansas City and Detroit, they're now equipped to counter these trends. And those three or four teams have some of the best offensive lines in football, and they bully teams. Baltimore's got a 300-pound tight end. They got a great offensive line. They bully teams. Philly's got maybe the biggest, most physically dominant offensive line that's ever been assembled. And they bully teams with Saquon Barkley. Detroit's got a great line left to right, probably the best in pro football. They bully teams. Jahmyr Gibbs, 2024 EPA per rush, the best in the NFL in over a decade. They are running Montgomery and Gibbs a ton. Philly's running Saquon a ton. Baltimore's running Derrick Henry a ton. Even Kansas City, they're running, Kareem Hunt a lot. So teams are playing nickel a lot more than they have in the past. From 2016 through 2021, nickel defenses were lined up in nickel 57% of the snaps. From 2022, 2023, and this year, defenses were lined up in nickel defenses 64% of the snaps. So, and then I looked it up this afternoon. The winning teams of the 12 NFL playoff games this year, thus far, are averaging 170.5 rushing yards per game. So, that's the game right now. You got to be able to run the ball. So what are the Niners going to have to do this year? They have to bolster that offensive line, get a new center, get another guard, maybe a different fullback, another running back or two, and start pounding the rock, because that's how you win in today's NFL. One, my good friend Tony Pauline, who's an NFL scout, who's been doing it for a long time. He's an NFL insider. I believe he's working for Sportscada now, but last year, Tony's a real insider. Last year, he reported in March that the 49ers had a lot of interest in Isaac Guerendo, and I think he even called the round. I think he said in the third round. And sure enough, and then he came out like 24 hours later and said, I'm taking that down, or I'm taking that. I think he tweeted it, and they maybe took down the tweet. Somebody from the Niners probably said, hey, Tony, could you please not put our stuff out there? Sure enough, though, he was right. And the Niners drafted big Isaac Guerendo. They didn't take him in the third round. They took him in the fourth round. So this week, the East-West Shrine game practices are going on. It used to be here in the Bay. I used to love it. I used to do the sideline reporting for this game. It's now been moved a couple times. It was in Orlando. I think it's in Frisco, Texas. And they're practicing in Frisco, Texas. Tony is down there. And Steph Sanchez, who covers the Niners, she's one of the YouTube content creators who covers the Niners, put out that I guess she must be there in Frisco, Texas, and she talked to Tony that the 49er offseason priority is to increase team speed on defense, specifically in the secondary. Also, according to Steph Sanchez or Tony Pauline through Steph Sanchez, the Niners also want to be more innovative on defense. And there's no question the Niners were just way too vanilla on defense. They never moved out off of their base defense. They never did anything but rush 4. When they didn't get home in the last 6 weeks of the year, oh well. Did Sorensen dial up a bunch of exotic blitzes? No, he didn't. And that's kind of the problem. And the Niners coaches, I'm sure hope that Dre Greenlaw will be back in San Francisco. And he's a big part of their defensive, trying to build their defense back, is get him signed. Hopefully, the people who are speculating 1 year, $6 million is Greenlaw's price tag are right. But if you look at the Niners, the 40 times tied to some of these safeties, Talanoa Hufanga, 4.7, Jair Brown, 4.65, even Mustafa's 4.55. There's not a really good running safety there. So the Niners do lack some speed at safety. Now, at corner, you do have Bernardo Green. He's sub 4.5. You have Demo Lenore. He also sub 4.5. Darrell Luter Jr., sub 4.5. But none of these guys are sub 4.4. I mean, they don't really have they don't have that 4.3 deep speed burner on the corner. They don't really have a ton of speed at safety. So there's no question the Niners need to add speed on defense. Their defense is too slow. It was my primary takeaway when I looked at them upon the rewatch. I took a week and dug into all their tape and cross-connected it to the All-22 and really looked at about 100 different plays over the course of the year. And what I saw was that the Niner defense was slow. And it really burned them consistently. I mean, they beat the Jets in week 1, but Garrett Wilson, who runs in the 4.3s, lit them up, 6 catches, 60 yards. Week 2 in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson lit them up, 97-yard touchdown. They threw it over the top, 4 catches for 133 for Jefferson. He's a 4.4 guy. Week 3 against the Rams didn't have Cooper Kupp, didn't have Puka Nacua, and still beat the Niners. Why? Because Tutu Atwell runs in the 4.3s, and he just blew by Mooney Ward like he was standing still for a 50-yard bomb in the second half. Caught 4 balls for 93 yards. Rams pulled the upset. Niners won in week 4 against New England, largely because New England has no speed to speak of. Week 5, Niners lost to Arizona. Kyler Murray had a 50-yard touchdown run where he went untouched right by Devondre Campbell. It was like in quicksand. Of course, Murray runs 4.4. Michael Wilson had a big day. He runs well. So that was just the first month and a half of the season, and the Niners were already in a hole because they couldn't defend verticals. They couldn't stop verticals against Minnesota, couldn't stop verticals against the Rams, couldn't stop Kyler from running right through their defense. They lack speed on defense. There's no question about it. So there's a number of free agents that they might be able to go after that could help them speed-wise. And it'll be interesting to see. I was reading a tweet today from Grant Cohn. He's advocating Javon Holland, that the Niners sign the free agent safety. That would be interesting. I like Javon Holland. He's a local guy, great guy. I went to O'Dowd, really good player, played at Oregon, can cover tight ends man-to-man. The Niners miss Jimmy Ward badly. They need Jimmy Ward 2.0. Jimmy Ward hit like a linebacker and covered like a corner. He ran well, and he hit like a truck. And they missed that player. And Javon Holland, who ran 4.47 at his pro day back in 2021, was a second-round pick out of Oregon. As I said, when free agency begins March 12th, I wouldn't mind seeing Javon Holland, wearing a Niner uniform. He would definitely be a guy that I would want to have on that short list.